I was just putting together this LinkedIn post using my usual setup of AI prompts to AI imagery, and I figured, why not show you how I do it? I'll walk you through how I use ChatGPT, Gemini, and FreePic to write the text, create the imagery, and make the process faster without losing your style. This isn't about which tools to use. You could use Claude, Perplexity, and Midjourney, for example. It's about building a workflow that suits your needs and your creative process. For me, the tools don't matter that much. But if you are a ChatGPT user, I'll show you a couple of interesting new tips on using your memory and your projects that you might have missed. And yes, I will touch on Gemini's latest Nano-Banana for your imagery. So grab a coffee or a tea or a beer. Let's dive in. On average, it takes about 45 to 60 minutes to create a single social post, image included. The main tool I get my clients to invest their time into is creating their own personalized AI assistants. Simply put, writing structured prompts into their language models. I'm currently working with an interior designer and I'm helping her build her workflow, and I realized that she's having to change the way she's doing things. She's become more of a director of AI tools and not only a designer. So this idea of a LinkedIn post came to me while working with her, where the idea is, in a year, clients won't ask you if you're using AI in your design workflow, they'll assume you do. We can all now build AI assistants for ourselves, but in 2 to 3 years, we're all going to have AI agents doing tasks for us. This creates a situation where we take on multiple roles for ourselves as a director does, as depicted also in this image of this character. A lot of creatives I work with prompt their AI in much the same way. Simple and generic and straight into the chat window. Let's look at how this simple prompting compares to a more structured prompt tailored to your creative process and repeatable. To simulate this way of working, I had to go into my personalization in my ChatGPT and delete all the memory and all the information that I give about myself to the AI. So I switched off the memory, removed all the custom instructions and everything about me. I find that most people don't actually invest their time into personalizing their AI. You can do this in Claude, you can do this in Gemini, and that way it knows a lot more about you. In order to simulate this, of course, I had to delete that. So let's look at a generic prompt that I gave it without all that memory. And I asked it, I want 2 LinkedIn posts with this hook idea to challenge with. Give me the 5 options that challenge beliefs. In a year, clients won't ask you if you use AI, they'll assume you do. With that very simple prompt, it did understand that I'm asking challenging hook variations. It didn't give me that much variation. It said, the real question is, will your work be the reason they noticed or the reason they left? Continued soon using AI won't make you innovative. Not using it will make you irrelevant. Very cliched. Next year, AI won't be an advantage. It'll be a minimum requirement. What do you build on top of it will make or break your business. Okay, the most interesting one, quite similar to each other. There's not that much variation there because I haven't given it enough context. Now you could say, why didn't you add that into your prompt? Because I want to show you, I want to compare it to the other way of working as an example, but you'd be right in saying, well, surely you would write that in and say, can you give me 5 variations and looking at different angles? And you would write in a bit of context of saying, I want this post to talk to a certain type of audience. So I could write that in here. For the purpose of this video, you'll see the comparison. So I told it number 4 is the most interesting. And I did give it some tiny little bit of context. And I said, where we explain part of your necessary workflow is having personalized structured prompts for your assistants. So it wrote me this post. Next year, AI won't be your advantage. It'll be your bare minimum. Okay, so that's not my hook. And not the one that I wanted. Businesses winning right now aren't the ones using AI. They're the ones building personalized workflows around it. Okay, based on what? Here's the shift most people are missing. It gives me this weird bullet points. Generic prompts equals generic output. Personalized and structured prompts, repeatable excellence. You see, so I don't write like this. This is a typical sales-oriented marketing kind of lingo that ChatGPT and Gemini have in their base kind of model, the way they present information. And it continues. It's a long post. The structure isn't the way I structure my LinkedIn's. And also the language is very AI. You'd recognize it straight away as AI written. So now let's look at the structured prompt. Of course, I came back to my personalization, pasted back the custom instructions and everything about myself, switched on memory so it can access my chat history. I built myself a ChatGPT project called LinkedIn Posting. In here, it has instructions. So if I go up to the top right, there's the 3 dots. click edit instructions, and I have what is the foundational prompt or the system prompt pasted into the instructions. As you can see, it's a long prompt. It works to my prompt template that you can download for free in the descriptions. I'll link to it. Use that to generate your prompts. You give it basically the context, its role, rules, the actions that it takes, how the style that you want, the tone that you want. If we look at what it gave me and pasted the same exact prompt as we used in the generic prompt, and it said here are 5 industry beliefs you can challenge the hook with. I'll keep them sharp, specific, and aimed straight at creative professionals. So it has the context of who I am. I'm focused on creatives because it knows it in the instructions, but it also knows it about me in all the chat history and what I've given it. 5 beliefs to challenge. AI is optional. Creatives still treat AI like a bonus feature instead of a baseline of how work gets done. Or using AI is the shortcut. People believe AI removes the need for a solid process when, in reality, it exposes every missing step. You notice how even the 5 challenges are much more interesting, conversational to me, much more contextual to me. And so I can choose better options here. I chose number 4, AI replaces your taste. Many assume that once AI enters the workflow, their personal taste or style gets diluted, when the opposite is true if the workflow is built right. And that's what I actually believe. It knows that I believe that somewhere in another chat. So I said, okay, give me number 4 where the workflow includes a structured, personalized prompt. And then it gives me 2 posts because I've asked for 2 posts here. You can see already it's shorter. It gives me the hook as is. So in a year, clients won't ask you if you use AI. They'll assume you do. I actually went for the second one. Here's what keeps repeating in a real creative project. A clean render, nice lighting, perfect edges, zero identity. Almost like the tool had more presence than the person using it. It's kind of my way of thinking as well. I do want to challenge. So I saw it this morning, a folder full of versions that looked the same because the prompt said nothing about the designer's style. No reference points, no structure, just make it pretty. Very direct, as I want this LinkedIn post to be. And I can give it extra direction after the fact, like add a call to action at the end. Now I can copy it and paste it into Google's Docs and edit it myself, because of course that's what you need to do at the end. Give it your human touch. For example, AI doesn't erase taste, it exposes whether you ever defined it. I wouldn't use the word taste, I would use the word style. So I just edit it myself and post it into LinkedIn. Now, a tip for creating your foundational or system prompts for your projects or even your custom GPTs or your projects in Claude, Gems, ask your AI to help you write your prompts for it. You can say, I want to create an AI assistant that writes a LinkedIn post for me, but I want it in this style. Or you could literally go into your social media, let's say to LinkedIn, and choose a social media post, do a screen grab of that post and paste it into your AI language model. Say, I like this style. Can you describe in tone and format and style this post for me? And write that into my prompt. That way you can build your prompt using the template I've shared with you in my description. That's one tip I have for you. Another tip for the ChatGPT users, this is quite new, I noticed recently. If I create a new project, in the settings here, you can select whether or not it sees everything outside of the project or only what's inside the project. So if you want this project to only access the information within the project itself, click here on the second option. Once you've created the project, it's stuck on this selection, so you can't revert back to anything else. Something to be aware of using ChatGPT projects now. So after I saw that, I thought, why don't I try creating a project that would have no memory? I gave it that prompt to create the LinkedIn post, the same prompt, and it gave me the 5 challenges. Clients increasingly expect speed, clarity, and iteration. They assume AI is part of how you deliver that. Challenge: AI is now baked into expectations for pace, communication, and consistency, not a bonus skill. So it's actually, the challenges are more interesting than the ones in generic prompt. I chose again number 4, challenge. Clients now assume everyone uses it and they worry more about creatives who don't, which is an interesting angle actually. And I wrote, and that comes with the understanding that AI speeds you up. And one crucial part of your workflow is AI assistants built from personalized structured prompts. And it asked me to choose for 5 challenges again, which was surprising to me. I didn't understand why. I said, yes, go with my choice. Why are you asking with more options? It said, okay, gave me 2 LinkedIn posts. They're shorter, they're structured better than the ones in the generic post for sure, but still written in a kind of typical AI fashion, the hooks are the same. So it actually figured out that the hooks are okay. And this is happening because the instructions in the project are the same instructions as the one where it has access to my memory. So it is more structured. It is more working to a style, and except it doesn't know anything about me. So that's the difference here, is this project doesn't have the context of who I am and everything I've been talking to ChatGPT about outside of the project. That's why the structure looks better than the generic prompt. For example, it'll write, here's what keeps repeating in real creative projects. That's an odd sentence. Someone opens their Figma or Premiere file and it looks like a garage sale. It doesn't have the context of who I am. My target customers, they use Figma or Premiere, but I'm not aiming for them. Typically, AI went for kind of a generic thought process about me because it doesn't know anything about me. Layers everywhere, versions everywhere. I wouldn't write this. This is not something that's geared to me. So what was interesting is that it shows that if you're a creative, I think that you should absolutely let your project look at all your chats, look at your chat history, look at your memory, give it your personal information in your settings. So go into your personalization, give it that context so that it can write content that is actually more geared to you, true to the way you are and your processes, because it gets more information from the outside chats. So that was an interesting experiment, let's say. So once you've got your social post text and you're happy with it, because it's inside now your language model, it has the context of the post, the context of what it is you're trying to do. I can ask it now, give me ideas for imagery, because now we want to move to creating the image. I'm going through a process of showing the workflow of saying, I'm going to write the text first and then come up with the image idea. But you might have an image idea first and then write the text after. That's kind of a slightly different workflow, but they're kind of similar. So on purpose focused on text first, image later, but it could work vice versa. So I could say to it, can you offer me a good idea for the image of this post? Thinking of different roles that AI makes us take, or now that we build AI assistants, we have different roles we direct. Maybe go with a second idea, give me 3 options. As a tip, again, for asking ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude for ideas, I usually add this kind of sentence. Don't be cliched or on the nose. Think out of the box, keep it simple and creative. The problem with AI language models, because they're trained on stock images, they're trained on the average of everything, I guess. They have so much information that what they're doing is predicting an average. What we usually get back is the generic cliched ideas. We as humans, our first ideas are the ones that are quite cliched, and we have to work at pushing it ourselves to come up with more creative, more original ideas. Another way of working is you can build another project, another ChatGPT project. In this case, I called it Image Prompter. The purpose of this project is to write me image prompts that I can use for other image generators or within Gemini or ChatGPT, which I'll show you how that works. It has its instructions. So again, I go back to top right here, edit instructions, and it has its foundational prompt or its system prompt that tells it what to do, gives it the context, splits it up and says, okay, we're going to use these models. And to reference the knowledge files, so if I go into here, these 4 files, in all your projects or your gem, you get to add in data, information that the prompt can use. I've given it 4 different prompt guides: Gemini, Nano-Banana, Seedream, Firefly, and it'll reference that and use those to write prompts for images. So what I did is I took an idea that I had from the other project, the one that wrote my LinkedIn post, scaling yourself without losing authenticity, a visual concept, a single creator figure replicated across a frame, each version doing a different part of creative process: writing, designing, presenting, editing. Each clone feels purposeful, coordinated, and clearly you. Mood, symbolism, use case, excellent for carousel, midsection, or video thumbnail background. Not true, but okay, I didn't realize what was there. And it wrote me for Gemini and Firefly these prompts. I went through an iterative process where we kind of came up with new ideas based on the prompt. And then I asked it, you know what, write yourself a prompt for ChatGPT. And it translated that idea into a prompt for itself. And I said, generate it here. It already knows there needs to be 60 16:9 aspect ratio because the instructions are asking for that. And it gave me this image. Now, what I find with ChatGPT, it's really good at bouncing ideas and creating ideas. There are times when I will use a ChatGPT image for actual posts, but rarely, to be honest. It's less realistic, plasticky imagery that I can't really use. Even though I'm asking for realism, sometimes it's just not good at generating an idea like this. It's correct in what it's depicting because that's what I asked for. It's just not a good image. So often I'll move on to Gemini and Seedream straight after this. If I go into my LinkedIn and I look into my articles, this image, for example, I did create in ChatGPT. So it knew this article, knew the content, it understood what it needed to do, and generated me this image, which is a nice image for the purpose that I used here. So sometimes ChatGPT does give me useful images, but usually not. So after bouncing ideas with ChatGPT, I often will jump, like I said, to Gemini. I took the prompt that I showed you that the ChatGPT project had created, and I just simply pasted it in here. So a clean aspirational scene showing multiple versions of the same creator across a wide studio space. But this one is written for Gemini, and it generated me this image. This is something that kind of I could use. One thing to notice, this was done with what's fondly termed as Nano-Banana before Gemini 3 release. You can see that the image is blurry. The first Gemini 2.5 flash imagery, which is what's called Nano-Banana. If you actually zoom in, you'll see how it's quite blurred. And also it leaves this watermark. If you're going to use this image, you need to find a way to remove this. I do it with Photoshop, but you can find tools online that do that. I thought to try a different style, maybe something more graphic. Didn't get good results here. I actually like this image. I can work with it and I can use it to generate the final image. But what I was thinking was, they're all kind of monotone. They're not distinct from each other. It is the same character supposed to be. So I want different colored clothing, for example, to distinguish each one from each other and add some color to the image. So as you can see, it's a very simple process of once you've got that prompt going, that project or gem going, and it just generates you prompts, you can come into Gemini and get your image based on the concept that you've developed with your AI assistant. I'll show you a free way of editing. What I mentioned now is to add those colors in shortly, but the way I did it is use Photoshop. I can select certain areas. So for example, I could draw around just the green shirt, right click here, generative fill. What Adobe have done, the built-in choice of having their own AI models or Gemini models, including Flux context. You can just prompt it and say, change the color of the shirt to black. Click generate and it should generate that for you in a separate layer. Right now I asked it to use 2.5, so the Gemini 2.5, as you can see, it changed it to a black shirt. So not bad at all. But if you're not a Photoshop user, then another platform that I recommend, a paid platform, freepik.com. If I go into image generator here, I can load up that image of the ladies or the character sitting. So here, this image here, I'll say use, and I can prompt the changes I want in the prompt window. I can select how many copies I want, in what aspect ratio do I want, and which models do I want. I just use Seedream 4. It's a very good model. You've also got the Google models, so the Gemini models. Nano-Banana Pro is started as being used now. Runway, other good models here. If we look at this one, I had uploaded that image and I said to it, change the color of the shirt of the woman on the right to red and the jacket of the woman sitting at the table to a bright cobalt blue. Keep everything else in the image exactly the same. And it did what I asked for. It's also generating a 2K, so it's actually kind of upscaling the image because it's regenerating the image. So you're not going to have to upscale as much as you would with the old Nano-Banana, the old Gemini model. You can also retouch images. You can go to all tools and select image editor, select the image, and you can paint around. So just like I showed you the Photoshop, I can paint around her sweater or a jumper and prompt it, change the color of the jumper of the top to brown red. But what I find with this particular tool, I don't know what model they're using. They don't really tell you which model. I don't think they're using the good models. They're not using Seedream or Gemini, it seems. The result isn't as good if you do the prompt editing. See here, it's just giving me some weird result and it's changed. Okay, that one's not bad. So it's kind of hit and miss with this particular tool, but it's a way of editing. You saw how quick I was able to edit that, and then I can save it and use it. Now, of course, every iteration is using credits, the same in Photoshop. But if you're looking for a free way of editing these kinds of images, you go into aistudio.google.com. So Google AI Studio, click on Playground, select images, prompt it to make that change. So upload that image with a monotone feel and prompt the changes you want. So I did the same thing as you saw me do it in FreePic. I told it change the shirt of the woman on the right to red, the woman at the easel change her shirt to green, and the woman at the desk change her jacket to a cobalt blue. It's free to use, and they do give you access to the new Gemini, but you have to pay for that through this Google AI Studio through an API. You can use the first version of Gemini 2.5 Flash. You can see here it's actually telling you that it's Nano-Banana Gemini 2.5 Flash image. So that's the model being used. Now what we need to do, if you're going to generate an image from Gemini 2.5 Flash, the old Nano-Banana, you might find that they're slightly blurry. So to upscale them, I can go into Photoshop and do that here, or I can go back into FreePic, and there are other tools like there's a very, very good, the best platform for upscaling your imagery is called Topaz. But in FreePic, for example, I can select all my tools and click Image Upscaler, upload image, or pick one of the images that I've already created. I can say Use Image. We'll choose the Magnific Upscale model, which is a good model. And then I just need to make sure I select the right properties, presets. I can give it creativity. I can tell it how much it resembles the original. Obviously, I don't want it to affect the original much. I just want it to upscale. So no, don't change the faces on my character. Don't do your own thing. Click upscale. Give me one copy of it. Well, that's what I did here, where I have a better quality, even though you can see that it's quite blurred if I zoom in. But for this LinkedIn post, it's good enough resolution. So I didn't upscale it 4 times. I upscaled it only 2 times. The FreePic upscale method is actually a very good method. There are other tools. Search online for upscaling if you need to. Since recreating this post, Google released Gemini 3, which the new Nano-Banana, or it's called Nano-Banana Pro, generates a 4K, up to 4K. More and more, you're going to realize that you don't need to upscale your images, especially for social media. Don't worry too much about upscaling, but if you do need to, then there are tools for you. So that's one workflow of using AI assistance to creating your social media posts and your content. I'd say it takes now, let's say 10 minutes to write the text, another 10 or so for the image, and let's add another 10 for formatting and scheduling your post. That's about 30 minutes of work. In the past, let's say it took you an hour to create that social media post, and you post 5 times a week. That's a saving of 2.5 hours a week. In basic terms, if your time is worth, say, $200 an hour, that's $500 a week in savings in simple terms, in basic terms. Not a bad result out of a simple workflow. For me, the main driver of such a creative workflow is the personalized foundational prompt, or the system prompts that act as your AI assistants that have very specific jobs to do for you, and they're basically semi-automated. You can automate them further, but that's going way too deep. What I show my clients, try to create a simple workflow for them that they can manage, that is easy to understand, and that they can immediately work within their ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, and then connect that to their imagery. Then they can decide, do they want to subscribe to FreePic, or will they use the Gemini platform or the ChatGPT platform? It's quite flexible, and it's not that expensive anymore. It just shows that a simple workflow, if you build it for yourself, can actually save you quite a bit of money and time. So if you're a creative, an interior designer, an architect, an exhibition designer, product designer, from copywriting to design to marketing, if you want to build that kind of workflow, reach out to me through my website or my LinkedIn or Instagram. I'll link to those in the description of this video, and they're also in my YouTube channel information. I work with creatives all the time to tailor the workflow for their needs. So if you like this video, click the like button and subscribe to my channel. It helps me keep growing and keep bringing more tips and tricks as I have time to do so. And do comment in the comment section on workflows that you're using. If you have any questions about what I'm showing, let me know. And if you want to see how I built a custom GPT in the workflow to help you create your brand identity and help you generate content, I have a course on that as well, but you can watch this video that shows that workflow. Or if you want to see how to manage your memory and how to make sure that your ChatGPT knows about you and the personalization aspect and how to manage that, then click on this video link here.